This demonstration is the color of snow. For the full lesson, visit my website www.debwatson.org on the e-course page. The color of snow is cobalt blue, cerulean blue, a little permanent rose, and some lemon yellow. Before I started this painting, I used graphite paper to copy the main lines onto my watercolor paper. The snow in the front is a little complex, so the dark areas I marked with an X so I could remember which areas were dark and which were light. And then I painted all of the white highlights with gray masking fluid. That'll save my white, and I can peel that off at the end. Right now I'm working on dry paper, using my mixes of color, and just getting a basic color wash laid in. Now you might think this is way too much blue and too much color to look like snow, but once we get the dark values in there, it's surprising how nice it looks. When you have a picture that's all a cool color temperature, it's nice to have some warm color somewhere. So in this case, I'm adding some golden glow, like a sunrise, to the sky. That's a lot of yellow. I wipe my brush out, creating a thirsty brush. It's damp, but it wants to pick up water. And I lift up some of the excess paint. And then I wipe it on a paper towel. Next, I dry the first layer. With landscapes, I usually start with the sky in the background, and I like to work from the left side over because I'm right-handed. For the distant tree, since this is just a study, I'm not worried too much about saving the snowy area. I just want it to have a tree shape and pretty colors. I'm using a bit of phthalo blue and cobalt blue with lemon yellow to make some different greens. And sometimes I'm dipping my brush in the greens, and sometimes I'm just dipping my brush in the blue. And then I just let it mix on the paper. There's a farther away tree that's more distant, so I put it in with a very watery wash. I'm not doing a lot with the detail on the house, but I do want to suggest the shutters and the window and the trim. And behind the large snow area, there's a light green bush. So I make a lighter green with more yellow and water, and lay that in. I want the gate to be a pretty color, so I'm using some burnt sienna, but then I mix the burnt sienna with the cobalt blue to tone it down a little bit. I don't want to paint the whole gate and fence bright burnt sienna, but I do want a nice bright spot of color. And I let that mix on the paper. For the really dark green underneath the snow and in this faraway bush, I mixed the phthalo blue and the yellow to make a dark green, along with the permanent rose. And I also mixed permanent rose and phthalo to make a dark purple. And I mixed both of those colors together to make dark green. To put my whites back on for the snow, I'm using Pro White. That's a white ink by Daler-Rowney Company that covers as well as anything. And I'm adding some white to the faraway bush, but it's still fairly wet, so that may fade out. A lot of times with white, you may have to apply it several times. Now I'm carefully filling in the dark areas from my snow. I don't know if you can see the outline, but where the dark areas are, I marked them with a little X. It can be difficult to see your outline once you get your first wash down. And by marking the dark areas with an X, you're going to paint over them and it won't be seen later anyway. There's also a dark bush behind the side of the house, and I just kind of lay that in and then soften some edges with water. I'm not spending much time at all on the house, but you'll be able to understand the basic shape. While the masking is still on, I'm putting in some of my tree branches. I drew these in pencil, and I'm using a little more color to go behind that snow. Now I'm putting some snow on top of the fence. I'm working quickly so it's still a little damp back there. And I'm drawing in the snowy bush. The snow on the green bush also faded out pretty well, so I'm adding a little bit more there. Putting some white snow on the roof. And a few lines for siding on the side of the house. That's a little dark, so I'll lift up most of that with a paper towel. I just want a suggestion. The first time I did this, I made the windows gold. This time I'm making them blue. I'm putting more snow on my fence. And now that it's pretty well dry and painted, I'm going to peel the masking off. Having the white of the paper makes a big difference. Those highlights make the picture. Now the white snow on this bush doesn't look very believable, so I'm going back and putting some shadows under the bottom side of those big areas of snow. And I'm using my blue mixture to put shadows within the shadows on the main snow masses. There's some very far away trees. I'd like them to be a warm color too. So I'm putting on some burnt sienna. To help keep them looking far away, I paint them on and then wipe most of it off with the paper towel. And I'm reinforcing the branches on the snowy tree, I'm not drawing the branches on top of the snow, but going in between the little clumps of snow. That's about it for the picture. It has a nice glow with the yellow sky. To check your values and color, fold your reference photo in half and compare it to your picture. Happy painting!